Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and at www.permanentrecordpodcast.com.
Blue Zone Podcast Network presents Permanent Record, an in-depth look at the classic albums of the 70s and 80s. Albums which have earned a permanent place of honor both in our hearts and in our record collections.
Welcome to take 2 of this week's episode of Permanent Record Podcast. My name is Brian.
And I am Sarah.
And yesterday I had the perfect introductory comment to make. And I was thinking to myself, I got to remember to say that. It would be so funny.
Oh, awesome.
So we started the show.
Uh-huh.
And you were looking at me and I was looking at you.
Yep.
And in my head I was thinking, what was it I was going to say yesterday? Oh, I can't remember it. And I was determined that I wasn't going to say anything except for what I had planned yesterday.
Uh-huh.
And unfortunately, I just never remembered it, so we just stared at each other the whole time the music played.
I was like, do you want me to go first?
I was trying to remember it.
Okay.
And I can guarantee that if I was able to remember what I was going to say, the show would have gotten off to a much better start than it actually did.
Oh, this is not our worst beginning ever.
Oh, no, it's not our worst beginning, no. But it would be our best beginning.
Ooh. Well,
but as it is, it's just kind of
it's
a typical 2018 episode 50 or 47 level beginning.
Getting close to 50.
Yeah, we do a better job coming in from the music than we did, say, in episode 4.
No, yeah, most likely we do.
But think about how great we're going to be like come episode 73.
Oh, I know. That's going to be amazing.
We'll essentially be professionals by then.
Yeah, for sure.
So welcome back, everybody. It is the beginning of February where we are.
Yeah.
And when we are.
That's right.
Who knows when you're hearing this, because it's going to float out there on the internets for... Forever. Or for as long as we pay to have it be out there.
That's right.
And we just finished up 3 episodes in January on Culture Club.
Yeah, really in-depth look at that album at Color by Numbers.
That's right. And I know that we enjoy talking about it. It seems like we got some good feedback on it from folks.
Yeah.
So I think people enjoyed listening to it. And one of the things that we mentioned in that episode was that Culture Club was kept from hitting number 1.
Oh, that's right.
From which song was that? Church of the Poison Mind?
I think so.
By David Bowie, who was currently at number 1 with Let's Dance.
Right.
But before we go any further with talk of this week's episode.
Which you may know. Well, of course you know what it is because you downloaded it.
That's right.
I always forget people already know before. It's not like we're teasing anything.
Yeah, I know, because it's right there in the episode title. Yeah. So it comes up on their podcasting app. But before we get to the meat of the episode, we do have a matter of business to attend to.
Right.
Show business.
Yes.
So if you recall, my New Year's resolution, of course, is to double our number of iTunes reviews.
Yeah.
And I'm off to a great start, which we mentioned last time around.
Yeah,
we had gotten a new review, and since last time, we got another review.
Oh, my goodness.
So I'm doing fantastic with this resolution.
Very successful. I'm sure you're much more successful than a lot of the people who also made New Year's resolutions.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure I am. Because, those people made resolutions like lose weight or quit doing this, quit smoking.
Yeah.
I'm just sitting here and checking iTunes every day to see if anybody writes a review.
Yeah.
So we did get another review from iTunes user Bear Killa. So it's actually someone named Spencer because he signed his name at the end.
Oh, nice.
So the review title, when I just saw the title, can go either way, good or bad. All I can say is, wow.
Oh, man. Yeah, that is pretty, that's a teaser for sure. Like, well, what is that, a good wow or a bad wow?
Well, I was answered right away by the 5 out of 5 star review that was right underneath it.
Okay, that definitely helps.
So Spencer says, I happened to recently stumble across this podcast, and I have to say Brian and Sarah do a smash-up job at taking a microscope to my favorite new wave albums. I'm an info junkie. I love the chart position talk. I love hearing the reviews from way back when. They even discuss the corresponding music videos and album artwork. I have to say that I immediately downloaded everything I could and totally look forward to hearing what the next album is. It's the perfect companion for my long commute. And just to enhance my experience, I play the featured CD after Brian and Sarah talk about each song. Thanks so much for putting together such a fantastic podcast. I absolutely love it. I give 5 record spacers rating to this podcast.
Oh, that's great.
So there's a lot of things in that I love.
Oh, yeah.
I love receiving compliments.
Yeah.
I love that he threw our
rating system in
rating
there.
System right back at us.
Right.
And I also liked what he said about listening to the albums after he listens to the episode, because I do that myself.
Well, yeah.
I'd be a lot better prepared for each episode if I didn't waste so many days after the previous topic continuing to listen to that album.
Oh, yeah.
I always find that I'm unable to right away make the jump to the next topic because I get so into what we just talked about.
Yeah, especially just hearing things from each other that we learn during the course of the podcast. Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, I have to go check that out. And, we do that after the fact.
Right. Yeah.
So, yeah, I get it.
Especially with Culture Club, man. I listened to a bunch of Culture Club and Boy George stuff for days after we were done with that.
I heard that throughout the house quite a lot.
So, Spencer, thank you very much for taking the time to leave the comments about the show and for the nice thoughts and sentiment that is contained in the comments.
Yeah. We always appreciate, Brian going on about giving us ratings, and stars are great, but words are even greater. And those words were really great. So thank you so much. Really, we really do appreciate it.
Yep. And if you are listening and you want to help me with my New Year's resolution, if you want to tell us that our show is terrible, or if you want to tell us that you like our show, feel free to log into iTunes and leave a rating with those 5 stars and do a write-up if you'd like to. It all is good for our show in some way.
Yes, and your New Year's resolution.
And my New Year's resolution.
Yeah. Well, we've talked about that every week pretty much this year, but, getting reviews and asking for reviews and ratings and all that. But there's something that I kind of have missed over the past few, maybe even months.
Oh, really?
It's been a while. I'm kind of getting sad that I haven't heard you talk about Depeche Mode's album Spirit in a long time.
That's true. When it first came out and for months afterwards, I usually found a way to force the topic of Spirit, the new album by Depeche Mode, into every single episode.
Yeah.
But I really have gotten away from it probably after we saw them last summer.
Right. Yeah. Well, after the David Bowie Cover Me episode where we talked about the cover of Heroes and then the song Cover Me, I think that was probably the last time you brought it up.
Well, Sarah, it's funny you should bring it up right now because you may not be aware.
Oh, really?
Even though you posted about it on our Facebook page, that just this week, Depeche Mode announced that they will be returning for one last lap through North America. To celebrate the World Spirit Tour.
All right.
And they have announced, it looks like 9 episodes across the...
9 dates.
Yeah, what did I say?
Episodes.
They have announced 9 concert dates across the country, and pre-sale ends, unfortunately it ends today, so this, I'm not able to remind you in time.
Well, the verification
to register for the pre-sale ends today. And then tickets are going to go on sale next week. So if you are into Depeche Mode and you saw them last time around and you want to see them again, or if you missed them last time, next Friday, February 16th maybe, is the day you want to get on Ticketmaster and buy yourself some tickets.
That's right.
And you will not be disappointed, trust me. If you want to know what we thought about the World Spirit Tour, there's an entire episode where we just gush about how awesome it is.
Yeah, as if that's some shock, anyone that has seen a Depeche Mode concert knows that they're great, but this show is really even better than probably some of the last couple tours we've seen.
Yeah, I loved World Spirit. It was so good.
Talk to me about the life we could have had. Oh, we don't have that life no more. But I like the way you move. Yeah, I like the way you move for me tonight. I like the way you move. I like the way you move for me tonight. All right now.
So, Sarah, the last time we spoke, we were talking about the fact that Culture Club was held out of the #1 position by David Bowie, Let's Dance.
That's right.
And as luck would have it, that is the album we're here to discuss this week.
Well, how lucky.
Yeah, it's funny how that worked out.
Yeah, really.
It works out well because we mentioned earlier that we're going to try to focus on records that are celebrating their 30th or 35th anniversary this year.
Yeah.
And this is a record that's celebrating its 35th anniversary.
That's right. Just a couple months. It was released in April of 1983. So it's coming up on the 35th anniversary real soon.
That's right. It was David Bowie's 15th studio album, which I found to be unbelievable at first, but it really is.
Yeah, that is. I mean, he had some live albums in there too, but this was the 15th. Wow. He was very prolific in the 70s, though.
He certainly was.
And yet this was a bit of a break between this one and the one he'd just done before that, which was Scary Monsters and Super Creeps. That had been released in 1980.
That's right. A 3-year break between records, and that 3 years is a very interesting period for David, so I do want to take a look at it. But before we do, let's talk about the essential information, the chart positions, and things like that for this record.
Okay. Well, it was really popular. It really was high selling. It was, at the time, I think, the best-selling Bowie album. It moved, at that time, about 6 million copies, and this was on the EMI label, and it was their biggest seller since Sgt. Pepper. So that was pretty good.
Yep, that's very cool.
And it charted really high on lots of places all over the world.
This was a great example of an internationally successful record.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, it was number 1 in Australia, the Netherlands, France, New Zealand, Norway, Sweden, and of course the good old UK. And it was number 2 in several other countries. In the US, well, womp womp. Only number 4.
Only number 4. That's kind of disappointing.
Yeah, it got to number 4. It was the peak position on June 25th, 1983. So I'm sure you'd like to know what 3 albums were in front of it.
I would like to know that, and I will pass judgment on each one.
I'm sure you will. Okay, well, at number 3 was Pyromania by Def Leppard.
No, that's terrible. That didn't deserve it.
Not a good choice. Number 2 was Thriller by Michael Jackson.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised it wasn't number 1.
Well, Thriller spent a great deal of time at number 1 throughout the entire year of 1983, but this was one of the few weeks it was not number 1. It had been temporarily usurped by the Flashdance soundtrack. Which
what a feeling.
1. Yeah. Yeah. So that was number 1 for a little while.
I'm all right with that.
All right, good. So that's why Let's Dance was only number 4.
You'd have to be a maniac to argue with the success of
Oh my
Flashdance.
gosh. I can't even compete with these great puns. And of course, because it did so well throughout the year and it did so well on the album charts, it made the year-end album charts in a lot of countries for 1983.
There we go.
Yeah, so in the UK and Canada, it was the number 2 album for 1983. I have to imagine, although I didn't look it up, that Thriller was probably number 1.
Yeah, I would imagine.
And it made number 3 in the Netherlands top year-end album chart. It was top 10 in 4 other countries. In the US, it was number 28.
Well, that's still pretty good. 28 out of every record released that entire year. That's a lot of records.
And that was a huge year.
Yeah.
So that's not too bad. And then, because it had so many singles and, lasted so long, it ended up on the year-end album charts for 1984 as well in a couple of countries. It was number 72 in Australia and number 64 in America.
Well, that's cool then.
Yeah, so it was there 2 years in a row. So that's pretty respectable.
I saw that the album came in at number 83 on Rolling Stone's list of best albums of the 80s.
Yeah, that's kind of cool. It released in 83 and ended up number 83 album of the 80s.
Yeah, pretty cool. And it came in at number 296 on NME's 500 Greatest Albums of All Time.
All time. Wow.
So I would like to know what Bowie albums finished higher on that chart just to see where they rank this one,
Right.
compared to the rest of his catalog.
Yeah, I mean, this can't be the only one on their list. So what else is on that list and where does it chart?
Yeah, I got to find that out.
Okay, let's look that up sometime.
All right, so you mentioned that there was that 3-year gap in between records. So I think that 3-year period is actually a pretty interesting period in Bowie's life, so I want to spend a little bit of time talking about that.
I think that's a good idea because 3 years is a long time between albums for David Bowie. So what was he doing all that time?
I'm glad you asked, Sarah. Now, one of the things Bowie concerned himself with in this 3-year time period was acting.
Acting?
Which I've always found very interesting.
Well, absolutely. We don't really think of him primarily as an actor, but he definitely had that training.
That's true, and he had been in movies before this period, The Man Who Fell to Earth, for instance.
That's right.
But in this time period, he just seemed to really get involved with it.
Yeah, that he was actually in 3 different movies during this time period, all 3 of which were released in 1983, which is kind of interesting. So the first one he was in was The Hunger, which was a vampire movie.
Yeah, I remember that one.
Yeah. It also starred Catherine Deneuve and Susan Sarandon.
That's one that we got on VHS in the mid-90s whenever we had just sort of started getting into Bowie.
Okay.
So that's one that we've seen. I don't remember it all that well. I remember a scene where David Bowie gets like really old really fast.
Right, yeah.
That's like my main recollection. And the beginning, of course, with...
with Bauhaus.
Yes.
Yes, yeah. Bauhaus was in this. Became a kind of a cult classic just because of the fact that it's a vampire movie and Bauhaus is in it and they're playing Bela Lugosi's Dead and all that gothness.
Oh, so much black gothness.
Yes, indeed. And it's all very atmospheric and very polished and very 80s. So he played John Blaylock, who was the companion or I guess husband of Catherine Deneuve, a many centuries old vampire. The movie was not the most critically acclaimed movie ever. It did go to Cannes. They showed it at the Cannes Film Festival that May, but it was not in the competition for the Palme d'Or. It was they just showed it. Hey, here's a David Bowie movie.
So this was the first feature-length film directed by Ridley Scott's brother, Tony.
That's right.
Who, since he went on to be involved with a lot of things that are famous, I think off the top of my head, I think he was like a producer or a director on Top Gun or something.
Oh, maybe. I actually didn't look up all the other things that he did.
He had something to do with it, I think. So yeah, I mean, he did eventually make a name for himself in the movie business. I think isn't he the guy that killed himself not too many years ago by jumping off that bridge?
Oh, maybe. Wow.
Yeah, he was involved with Top Gun. He was involved with Crimson Tide, True Romance.
Oh, wow.
Some other things here I'm seeing on Wikipedia really fast. But this was his first movie, and it wasn't an auspicious debut, but
no,
it's kind of cool. When you watch, it's worth seeing because it's visually striking.
Right.
And it has the new wave, early 80s sensibilities to it.
It's enjoyable to look at.
Yeah.
And it's got some beautiful people in it. So
yeah. So it's one that I didn't love because I've never replaced that VHS copy. We don't have it on Blu-ray or
DVD or anything. Okay. Well, if we
it's worth seeing.
Ever need to see it again, we could probably stream it. Yeah. So that was the first movie that he was working on. And then almost immediately after he was done filming The Hunger, he went on to a really different kind of movie called Merry Christmas, Mr. Lawrence.
Oh, yes. That's a really good movie.
And that is a really good movie. He actually does a very good job in this. He was Major Jack Selliers.
And this is like a family favorite Christmas movie, holiday season movie. Is that what this is?
Merry Christmas, Mr. No. He was actually a prisoner of war in a Japanese prison camp during World War II.
Oh.
So not very lighthearted and jovial subject matter. It really looked at the different cultures between basically the British and the Japanese, because it was a bunch of British guys in this Japanese prison camp, and the Japanese were like appalled that they even had to do a prison camp because they thought it was disgraceful that the prisoners didn't commit suicide, and that's very dishonorable. Anyway, that one was a critically acclaimed movie, and that one was also shown at Cannes, and that one was in competition for the Palme d'Or, the Golden Palm.
Yeah, that's a really solid movie. Once again, my memory of it is not that good because we saw it probably in 1996 or so.
It's been a long time.
But I do remember when we were done watching it, I was like, well, that was a really, really good movie.
Yeah, it may be his best performance, David Bowie's best performance. I don't know, because we'd have to go back through and look at all his movies, but
yeah,
it's a very solid one for sure. And I think it is often overlooked in his canon of films.
That's right. Now that movie was directed by someone named Nagisa Oshima.
That's right. Yes.
And he discovered Bowie and decided to bring him on board for the film by seeing him on a Broadway production of the play The Elephant Man.
Right, yeah, because in addition to movies, David Bowie was also doing stage work.
That's right, and he was involved with this for quite some time. He did a lot of shows of this.
Yeah, it was over 100. It was between 100 and 150 performances of Joseph Merrick. Is it John Merrick? John Merrick as the Elephant Man.
Right, so he was involved with this for a while. I mean, it's not only just those shows, it's also the time that went into rehearsals and things like that.
That's right.
As he got ready for the role. And by all accounts, Bowie did a spectacular job with this.
And this was in the 1980-81 time period, right? So this was obviously before the movies.
Right. William Burroughs, the writer, saw the play, and he said, I admired David for doing it straight. It took guts to use only his body instead of yards of makeup, which was really interesting to me because that is how he tackled this role. The Elephant Man, if you've seen the movie, they did do the makeup to make him look disfigured, but Bowie just did it as himself and used his mime training and the way he moves his body and all this. His performance is really what projects across to you that he is John Merrick.
Wow.
So most people seem to think it was a really impressive way to handle the role.
Wow. I wish there was some footage of that. I wonder if there is somewhere out there.
I don't know if there is. I didn't think to search for it. There might be.
I'd like to see that.
One New York newspaper said that Bowie delivered the most haunting performance in the theater's 28-year history.
My goodness.
And Variety said that Bowie now has the chance to achieve legitimate stardom. Because I guess 12 years as a rock star wasn't legitimate.
Well, wasn't that nice of them to say?
Yeah. So he's doing a lot of acting in this time period, which I think is pretty interesting.
Well, yeah. It's definitely a different direction for his career to go.
He had some movies before that, of course, that everybody knows. The Man Who Fell to Earth is a really good movie. And he did some movies after that. We saw him in The Prestige. I remember he played
Nikola Tesla.
Yeah. We saw a movie, I can't really remember specifics about it, but it was like an early 90s movie called The Linguini Incident.
Oh, yeah.
Which was almost like a comedy, a romantic comedy of some sort. I can't remember anything about it, but I remember really liking it.
Okay.
And I think it's probably regarded as not a good movie.
Probably not.
But I thought it was pretty good.
I forgot to mention the one other movie he was in 1983, but it was just a cameo appearance. But he was in the movie Yellowbeard, which was basically a comedy about a pirate, and people from Monty Python were involved, and Cheech Marin. He played an unnamed character, but they call him the Shark.
The Shark.
Yes, because he actually had a shark fin attached to his back. I don't know why.
And didn't he just stumble into this movie by he saw them out at a restaurant or a bar or something, and they said, why don't you come over and be in our movie?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, it was very happenstance kind of thing, but he was in it. Didn't really do anything for his career, good or bad.
No, it was just something to do that day.
Yeah, pretty
Wasn't
much.
he also in some movie called Christina F?
Oh.
Around this time period?
Yeah, I think so. I don't have any notes on that. But
I think it was a German movie, and it wasn't anything...
Was it released in the theaters? Or?
It was just, he played himself. I think the character Christina, or Christine, whatever it is, goes to a Bowie concert.
Oh, all
and
right.
we see footage of him on stage. So he's not really acting, but he appeared in the movie.
Okay.
So in this 3-year time period, he's involved with quite a number of productions. Also does a BBC production of a play called Baal.
Baal, yeah, the old idol or the god or something.
It's like a god of fertility or something.
Yeah.
But it's a German play from 1918.
Oh my gosh.
And so he recorded some songs for it, 5 songs. And I think that little EP was actually released. It doesn't seem to be in print now.
Okay.
But it was released at the time, I guess.
Huh.
And those were just kind of weird songs. Those weren't pop songs. So the label, of course, wasn't happy with it.
No, I'm sure they weren't. You can't make any money off of this.
It's too weird, David.
Sure, he got used to hearing that.
And then speaking of his music, at this time period, he was still keeping his toe in the water a little bit musically. We're starting it with 1980, so that, of course, like you said, is the year that he releases Scary Monsters and Super Creeps.
Right.
Which was probably his last album of, one book calls it his art for art's sake period.
Oh, okay.
Just like the type of music that you picture coming from David Bowie.
Yeah, we don't want to call it pretentious because I don't think he ever really had an air of pretension about him, but it was very sophisticated, kind of definitely not mainstream.
Right, not mainstream.
Necessarily.
But still, for some reason, appealed to enough of the mainstream that he would hit the charts.
Yeah.
Like we said, he doesn't always hit number one.
No.
But
he still makes an impact and people know about him and he's played on the radio. And unlike the Berlin period, which just immediately preceded this album, I think this one was a little more successful.
But the album did spend 32 weeks on the British charts, which was pretty good. The Berlin trilogy didn't perform quite that well. 7 songs from the album were released either as singles or B-sides to singles, so they got some exposure beyond the record. And the first single, Ashes to Ashes, was his first number 1 hit since 1975.
Ah, wow. Ashes to Ashes, one of my favorites.
But I'm hoping to kick because glad it is glowing. Ashes to ash and funk to fuck it. We know Major Tom's a junkie, strung out in heaven's high, hitting an all-time low.
That is one that you love.
Yeah, and that's awesome that it made number 1. I mean, that's really cool.
Yeah, it is pretty cool. It is a really good song. I think of it as a very, very early new wave. At this point in time, the people who are going to become the new waves, new wave music is already starting, but there are people like Boy George and Stephen Strange from Visage, is that how you said? I think he actually appears in this video, that guy. This is like the dividing line.
Okay.
All those people are going to come after this, and it's obvious when you watch this video that Bowie is the inspiration for like
Gary Newman and
75% of the groups that are going to come out in the next year.
Right.
So it is kind of cool to see. Ashes to Ashes is a good song. It's never been one of my very favorites. There are sections of it that I like quite a bit.
But it has a neat story. I mean, it's a kind of a neat idea behind it.
Yeah, that's right. It's a very cool idea.
Continuing the story of Major Tom, who we first introduced in the song Space Oddity, which was I guess that was his first big hit.
That was his first big hit.
And
so this is 10 years later, checking in on the Major.
Yeah, and we find out he's still been out there in space, floating around.
Yep. And as you would imagine, if you're locked in a capsule by yourself in outer space, he's kind of gone through some depression.
Yeah, it kind of messes with your mind.
Yep, and he somehow became addicted to drugs.
Yeah, I don't know how that happened.
Not sure who his source was.
Yeah.
Some aliens, I guess, buzzed by. So the album critics at the time said it was a solid mid-career self-evaluation record. And I think that's kind of something that you see in the lyrics lyrics of Ashes to Ashes, because there's a great lyric in there. I've never done good things. I've never done bad things. I've never done anything out of the blue. It's almost like he's looking back on the last 11 years, and he's just looking at what he released and what he recorded and just saying, this was all planned. Every single thing that I've done, I have taken great pains.
Yeah, to manufacture this and craft this and just do it just so.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And that idea, that little self-commentary on his career, I think is what he's going to, over the course of these 3 years, decide to try to change with a lot of elaborate planning. He's going to try to
Wait a minute.
Through elaborate planning, he's going to try to do something out of the blue.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
I think we'll see that as we talk about it. I think he goes through great pains to try to just present himself as a much lighter
weight, kind of.
Yeah, performer, and not as calculated and kind of just going along with the flow.
Yeah, let's see where this heads.
But behind the scenes, I think he's still Bowie.
Yeah, he still has a plan, as much as he may let on or put on a show that he doesn't.
Right.
Okay.
So there were other singles off of Scary Monsters that achieved some success. Ashes to Ashes went to number 1. Fashion, which is the follow-up that I really like. You're okay on that one. I really like it. That hit number 5.
It's loud and it's tasteless. I've not heard it before. You shout it while you're dancing on the dance floor. Fashion, fashion, turn to the left. Fashion, right, fashion.
Yeah, you know why I don't like it.
I do know why you don't like fashion that much.
I think we even talked about it before on a prior podcast. I don't remember for sure, but I think I mentioned his phrasing, the dance floor. I hate that. Oh, it's so...
He stretches the word the out into like 6 syllables.
Yeah, it's just not... It's like, come on, you could do better. But, if that's my only complaint, then I guess I'm doing all right.
I think it's a cool song.
It is.
And then musically, over the next few years, he would release just a few one-off things. He would do the really awesome and very famous collaboration with Queen, Under Pressure.
Pressure, pushing down on me, pressing down on you. No man has fall. Under pressure, that brings a building down, splits a family in two, puts people on streets. Eat it up. That's okay. That's the terror of knowing what this world is about.
Yes.
Do.
Yes.
And he would do with Giorgio Moroder the theme song from the movie Cat People, Putting Out Fire.
It's been so long, and I've been putting out fire with gasoline. Sees these eyes so red, red like jungle.
Right. Yeah.
And we're going to revisit that on the Let's Dance album
Yeah.
in the weeks ahead.
Interesting.
And I think also at this point in time, even though it was kind of an older song, isn't this the time period where they actually released or re-released his Christmas song with Bing Crosby?
Oh, Little Drummer Boy, Peace on Earth?
Yeah.
It might be. I did not look that up, but it's very possible.
I think maybe it was.
Okay.
So little bits were coming out,
Yeah.
but nothing that was really satisfying the label.
So he wasn't completely off the radar musically, but it was definitely a lot lower and not as prolific as he'd been.
Yeah. And then the last thing that he was doing in this time period that I wanted to mention was just that he was getting into being a father.
Wow.
He and his wife, Angela, had a baby in the 70s, Zoe.
Yeah, Zoe Bowie. Oh,
And
my.
So by 1980, he was Joey.
Okay, well, that's a little better.
But Bowie took Joey. Bowie took Joey with him pretty much everywhere he went at this point in time, and I think spending time with his young son moved him away from like the dark, tortured artist.
Oh, yeah.
That we had seen all throughout the 70s.
Yeah, that's no way to raise a kid, right?
Yeah. So Rolling Stone at the time in a write-up about Bowie said, Bowie exuded an air of contented family man composure, dressed in faded blue jeans and a knit shirt to spend the day at a museum with Joey.
Aw, that sounds so sweet.
I know it.
Bowie the dad.
Yep, think of
especially
Bowie
in
as
this
the dad.
era. I mean, later,
Right, yeah.
Later on, we understand he was a father again, but here he's just coming out of this drug-addled period, and he just is ridiculous, and think, oh, how could he be involved in raising a child?
Right. But it seems like he rose to the occasion.
Yeah, that's good.
Did a pretty good job with it. He said himself, he said, over the last 3.5 years, I've been getting happier and happier. This was in the promotion for the record. So he said this in 83. Over the last 3.5 years, I've been getting happier and happier. I can travel about and circulate within cities that I've always dreamed of going to see. And he credits his relationship with his son for his newfound ability to see the importance of long-term issues, things like healthcare and ecology, taking care of the planet.
Wow, yeah.
Because he started to concern himself with what sort of future Joey was going to have.
Yeah.
I think at Live Aid, he actually dedicated Heroes. He said, this is for my son and all of our sons, or something like that.
Oh, how nice. I don't remember that, but that sounds wonderful.
So that's...
Yeah, so he was growing up, basically. He was growing up, becoming a regular old adult, thinking about adult stuff and being a dad. That's really cool. You don't think of the Thin White Duke or Ziggy Stardust as being a dad, and well, they kind of weren't, even though he had a child, but he wasn't a father at that point, really.
Yeah, right.
In name only, I guess.
Yeah.
So that's cool. He stepped into that role and stepped up too.
Yeah, I thought it was kind of a neat thing to learn about.
Yeah.
Not something I was really aware of.
Yeah, very cool.
All right, so that's what he was doing at this point in time. Now, there were outside forces and different factors that were affecting his attitudes towards his various careers at this time.
Interesting.
And I kind of want to talk about those, if that
All
makes
right.
any sense. It probably doesn't.
Well, let's dive into that a little deeper and see what you mean by that.
At this point in time, with him being a theatrical figure and a musical figure, there were two hype machines working behind the scenes for his benefit.
Oh, all right.
Supposedly.
Makes
I'm
sense.
not sure he would agree that they were both working for his benefit.
Okay.
So the first hype machine working for him was for his acting. He was getting extremely positive write-ups and coverage from the press.
Oh.
And so much so that by the end of this period, Bowie is now pretty much considered to be an actor-composer instead of a musician who dabbles with impressions and acting.
Wow.
His legitimate work on Broadway.
Well, yeah. I mean, you play that role for 100 whatever shows. Yeah, you made a name for yourself as an actor.
Right. And so this stuff is working behind the scenes. It's getting him, the reason he's getting all these different these movie roles is because so much stuff is being offered to him at this point. Now, a lot of the stuff that's being offered to him is kind of ridiculous stuff that if he doesn't accept it, it's never going to happen. Like it's someone hoping to get the money for their product.
If David Bowie gets involved, we can do
David
this.
Bowie involved. And then some of it is also rock and roll spacemen kind of stuff that he's not interested in doing.
He's like, I've done that already. No, thank you.
He can weed out a lot of it, but he picks pretty well, I think.
Yeah,
from what he has available to him. Then, more interestingly, he has the music hype machine that's going on behind the scenes.
Okay.
And a lot of his problems and his reason to not release stuff comes from this aspect of his career.
Ooh, this is intriguing. I want to know more.
So like we said, Bowie's producing very little musical output at this point due to his theatrical obligations.
Yes.
And so because of this, his label, RCA, is keeping his name out there because they feel they have to. They're kind of cashing in on this good press he's getting other places.
Yeah.
And they're releasing albums of dubious value.
Oh, no.
And they're annoying Bowie.
Oh, no.
He doesn't like that they're doing this. They released an album called The Best of David Bowie, which he's not too upset with that one. Everybody does greatest hits albums.
Yeah.
So you get The Best of David Bowie. That's fine, I guess. 1 year later, they released an album called Changes to Bowie, which is another compilation.
Wow. Was that necessary just a year later?
Yeah, Bowie didn't think it was.
I might agree there.
And he was mad about that. It was kind of they just went back into his career and took some songs that were, more popular songs, but weren't on their first greatest hits. He was already very angry with them about their disinterest in the Berlin trilogy. He never felt that the label was really behind that, gave it the push that he thought.
So the hype machine wasn't working for him at that point in time.
Right. He also was annoyed, and we've talked about this before. I can't remember who it was that we talked about, but there was somebody who was angry that, it was the Human League. They were angry that there was going to be a fourth single off of the record. They said that,
that's enough.
People want us to go away.
Yeah.
Well, Bowie was annoyed with the over enthusiastic handling of Scary Monsters.
Oh, really?
He thought it was kind of lame that 7 tracks were lifted from the record for singles or B-sides. He was like, give it a break.
Yeah, that is a little excessive.
They went from famine to feast in terms of promoting his work. Nothing with the Berlin trilogy because they
just didn't feel they had anything to work with there,
Right.
I guess. And now they're like trying to milk Scary Monsters for everything it's possibly worth, which is probably a bad idea because it could lead to like overexposure and just, fatigue from the listening audience.
Very true. And that's in fact what happens. His old time cohort Mick Ronson said that it wasn't just arguments over money with the label that would annoy David, but also he was very afraid of being labeled as sort of like over the hill, like being a joke. And that was starting to happen in this period.
Oh, man.
There was a group, like a novelty song that came out that made fun of him.
Oh, I didn't know about that.
And there was something else. Oh, I can't think of it now. But like they cited 2 instances of people sort of teasing him.
Like he's washed up already at age like 32 or something.
And he really felt that RCA was sort of to blame for the way they were handling him, that this was happening.
Wow.
In 82, I guess, when he was working with Queen on Under Pressure, Queen was in Montreux, is that how you say it?
That's right, Montreux. Yep.
Recording, and Bowie was staying there.
Yeah,
he came down to see him.
Had a home in Switzerland, so he was hanging out there a lot.
So they were just kind of jamming, and then they ended up writing the song. But as he was there, Freddie was able to give Bowie some advice because Queen had sort of gone through this sort of thing already with their management.
Yeah.
And they came out of it pretty well.
I'd say so.
So according to an unnamed engineer that was working at the Montreux studio.
Oh, gossip. I love it.
He or she said, you could see his one good eye gleam when Freddie used the words artistic control in the conversation.
One good eye. No, that's mean.
So
artistic control. Yeah, that's important, especially to someone like Bowie.
Oh, yeah. So he's getting some advice from Fred and the boys. And then at the exact same time, there was a memo circulating through the RCA offices, an internal memo.
Oh, my.
Stating that they were frustrated because they felt that they were in a standoff with Bowie over the question of what type of artist David really is.
Oh,
which blows my mind. I can understand a label if you sign Kajagoogoo. Yeah. I can understand you thinking that you can dictate to Kajagoogoo what sort of band they're going to be.
But by this point in time, let David Bowie be David Bowie and whatever the heck he wants to do, just run with it.
Oh, my God.
Where is that going to lead you wrong, really?
Right. Some businessman doesn't dictate to David Bowie what sort of musician David Bowie is.
You need to play this.
It's ridiculous.
Right. Oh, my gosh.
So Bowie hears about this, and he refuses to follow up Scary Monsters.
He's like, nope.
He's so mad.
He's so done with them, right?
So, as a result, RCA continues to release like these bottom-of-the-barrel scraping compilations.
Yeah, just anything they can throw out there.
So nothing is happening to make the situation any better. Everything that each person does makes it worse.
This is terrible.
The reason why Bowie takes these 3 years off out of frustration, but the logic in his mind, what he's doing is, so this sort of thing probably happened to a lot of artists at the time. You hear about it quite a bit. Queen went through something just like this, but early in his career, David signed a contract with a guy named Tony Defries, and his company was called Main Man, and it must have been a terrible, terrible contract because Bowie just decided, I'm not going to release anything new because it benefits Tony more than it benefits me.
Oh, man, that's no good.
So Bowie wants to get out of the contract, which he does. He does get out of the contract, but in order to get out of it, he has to sign an agreement that 50% of his earnings on every album from Hunky Dory to David Live go to Tony.
Oh, wow.
And 16% of all albums that he record after those goes to Tony until September of 1982.
Oh, well, okay.
So to him, in his mind at this point in time, it's not even worth it to release anything because he's going to be giving money to his enemies.
Yeah.
He's going to be giving money to RCA, which is annoying him to no end.
Yeah.
He's going to be giving money to Tony Defries, who he hates.
Yeah.
And then he gets what's left, you know?
Wow, that's not cool.
So the deal with Tony, though, is only until September
of 1982.
So he occupies himself with these movies and things.
He keeps busy doing other stuff and doing it very well and just kind of biding his time, basically.
Yep, that's exactly what he's doing. And at first, he's pretty into it. He is enjoying it.
Yeah.
And then when he gets near the end of the time period when he's on a movie set and spends a lot of time sitting around waiting for things, then he starts to feel like he wants to record something.
He's getting kind of antsy again.
And luckily, it's past that September date, so he feels free. So after September of 82, Defries still does get that 50% percentage of the old records, but that other 16% obligation, that goes away.
Oh, that's good. I'm glad he didn't have a deal with RCA where they expected him to produce a certain number of albums in a certain time, or if that were the case, I guess he had done that already.
But if that was the case, these albums that they were compiling together themselves, I guess, counted towards that.
Well, that was nice of them to take care of that for him. He didn't have to do it himself.
But I'm not sure what sort of deal it was.
But either way.
Yeah.
That's good.
So that period is very businessy.
Yeah.
But I think it's just kind of interesting.
Well, it explains a lot. Yeah, it explains where he was coming from with this. Not that he didn't have those interests already in acting and stuff and being a father. That's all good stuff. but it certainly understands why he was reluctant to put anything out musically. It was not
right.
going to do what he wanted it to do financially.
Right. So then there's one last thing that I wanted to talk about just briefly this time period that affected him, and it was the death of John Lennon.
Oh, yeah.
So on December 8th, 1980, John Lennon was murdered.
Yeah.
And Bowie hears about Lennon's murder after coming off stage from that night's performance of The Elephant Man.
wow.
And Bowie said about that time period years later, he said, the handful of performances after that were absolutely awful.
Oh, I'll bet.
A whole piece of my life seemed to have been taken away. A whole reason for being a singer and songwriter seemed to be removed. It was almost like a warning. It was saying, we've got to do something about our situation here on Earth.
Wow.
There are a lot of really creepy things that this Chapman's actions of killing John Lennon.
Yeah.
There are a lot of really creepy things that led to Bowie being affected by it, not just
The fact that he was friends with John Lennon.
Killed David's friend. Chapman had attended a performance of The Elephant Man.
Oh.
And that weekend had got close enough to Bowie that he took a shot of him with his camera.
Oh, my.
And he bragged later to his girlfriend that he could have killed either singer. And in fact, his plan, had he failed to find Lennon that night, he planned to just walk over to the theater and be outside the theater at the end of the night when the people were leaving, and he was going to kill Bowie.
Oh, my gosh.
And this is like, this sentence, it was really creepy to me when I read it, even though it's not anything really ominous or anything, but in Chapman's hotel room was a playbill from the play with David Bowie's name circled in black ink.
Oh, which, yeah, it means nothing out of context, but when you know who he is and what he did,
Right.
oh my gosh, that would freak you out tremendously.
So as all that information came to light, it went beyond just the death of a friend that bothered Bowie.
Yeah, absolutely. Now he's thinking, I have to really straighten up and change my life and change some of my behaviors. So yeah, that's a really eye-opening experience. Oh my gosh.
All right, so after all that, things start to come to a head with Bowie and RCA and everything. There's a writer named Christopher Sanford, and he writes of the end of this period that we're talking about. Over the years, Bowie had quarreled with nearly everyone he ever met and alienated more than one person capable of helping him.
Oh, wow.
By 1982, his life was no longer tainted by this unhappy knack. With his friends and neighbors, he won a warm, ungrudging popularity. Immaculately groomed with a soft voice his visitors remembered as a trademark, Bowie could be the picture of English civility.
Oh, how
He
nice.
was without a doubt the nicest, most professional, intelligent rock star I ever met, says Willie Weeks. So he did sort of go through, I guess it's a legitimate change.
Yeah.
You know, he went through so many characters in his career that everything is always questioned a little bit.
Yeah.
Was this legitimate?
Yeah. Was he really sincere in these actions and this portrayal?
Right. And there are things behind the scenes when this tour for this album starts that indicate, you know, he's not like a happy lunatic pushover going to give in to everybody on everything. But I think, you know, the death of Lennon, now becoming a father and spending so much time with his son, there's just too many legitimate factors,
life-changing events,
things that I actually believe that he did really go through this real kind of change.
Yeah.
It seems legitimate to me based on everything I know.
Okay. Yeah, I would tend to agree, or I don't know why. Well, I do know why he reinvents himself and he does things like that.
Right.
But this seems, especially with having his son around, I think that he would truly want to be a better person, you know, for the sake of his son.
Yep. And so at this period, with his obligation to Defries and Made Men coming to an end, more or less, all of a sudden we're in this exciting period for Bowie of the bidding war. You know?
Oh boy, who's going to get David Bowie?
He took some of the advice that he got from his friends and from Queen, and CBS, Geffen, and EMI go into a bidding war for David's services.
Oh boy.
It's weird. I have like 4 different books here that I read this time period about. They all sort of are a little bit different in what they say.
Interesting.
In terms of numbers or who does what when. But it seems like at the last minute, EMI doubled their advance.
Doubled it.
And Bowie entered the upper echelon of wealthy rockers.
Yes.
With, some people say, between 10 million and 17 million dollars. Some people say 17 point something.
Yep.
And then this one book said it was 20 million.
Oh, wow.
He gets this very large advance for this album, Let's Dance, and 2 more albums within 5 years.
Okay.
And with signing this deal, he can now begin work in earnest on Let's Dance.
How exciting. And wow, that's a ton of money.
Yeah, he was pretty happy, I think.
Even back then, that was a ton of money.
So Bowie gets busy.
Yeah.
And it's a new Bowie, and it's a new team working with Bowie.
Yeah.
Surprisingly. All these, his longtime friends that he'd worked with through the 70s are not really around.
They're not really
this
involved
record.
for this, no.
And the first change he makes is he brings in someone we've talked about before on the program.
Yes.
Here he brings in Nile Rodgers to produce instead of his longtime producer, Tony Visconti.
Yeah, which was a big surprise for Tony.
Yeah, Bowie handles the situation well with one of these gentlemen and then handles it not very well with the other one.
Right, yeah. He's still not quite as much of a grown-up as he needs to be.
So there's kind of a cool story that we saw a little bit about on
Oh, yeah.
documentary, the Bowie 5 years or whatever.
Yeah.
He runs into Nile Rodgers at a nightclub
Yeah.
when the producer shows up with Billy Idol.
That's right. Yeah, and it's a club that Niall said he'd been to all the time, and David Bowie had never been there before, and I don't think he was ever there again. It was really a once-in-a-lifetime happenstance kind of thing.
Yeah, so it's pretty cool. And he asks Rodgers to come on board to do what he does best.
Make hits.
Make hits. There's a book that came out a few years ago by Paul Trianka, I think maybe is how you say his name, and it's called
Okay.
David Bowie Starman. He points out in that book that although at this point in time, as we look at it from 35 years on, this collaboration looks pretty much like a license to print money.
Yeah.
At the time, it appeared to many that Nile Rodgers' magic touch had deserted him.
Right. Yeah. He said himself, I was only a few weeks from being cut from my label because disco was dead. You know, he was now almost a pariah in the music world for some people because he worked so much with disco and disco was no longer cool.
Right. And he himself said, to this day, I owe David for his commitment because at the time I had 5 flops in a row. It was really a rough time for me.
Yeah. Yeah. It changed his life. It changed David Bowie's life too.
Yeah. And then meanwhile, like we said, the other producer, his producer of the last few years, Tony Visconti,
Yeah.
he unfortunately had sort of passed up projects because he was told that he was going to be called to work with David on this next album.
Yeah.
And when he called Bowie's assistant, Coco Schwab, to confirm plans, she said, well, I have to tell you that Bowie is already at work. He's been in the studio with the new producer for the past 2 weeks.
Sorry.
So that made Tony mad enough that he and Bowie did not really work on anything for many, many years. They got
Yeah.
back together right around the
I think
time
it was
of Heathen. I
Yeah,
think.
Heathen. Yeah. So that's like 20 years that they did not work together, and I don't know how much they even spoke to each other.
Probably not very much, I would imagine.
Yeah, that was a big deal. Not too cool.
No, not cool. Now, with the new producer comes a new band lineup.
That's true.
It wasn't very unusual that Bowie would kind of delegate tasks and give his collaborators, enough input into things to make them feel that the creative process was satisfying for them.
Yeah.
But with this record, which initially was titled Vampires in Human Flesh, did you see that?
No, I didn't see that.
That was the working title of Let's Dance, Vampires in Human Flesh.
Wow, am I glad they changed that name.
Yeah. Bowie was even more hands-off than ever. And more or less, he let Nile Rodgers recruit every
Whoever.
musician for the band, except for maybe one.
Yeah, so one person that David Bowie did make sure was on this album was a young, unknown Texas blues guitarist with the name of Stevie Ray Vaughan.
That's right.
Bowie had seen him at a Montreux Jazz Festival, and he really liked his stuff. And they got to talking, and Stevie Ray Vaughan really didn't even know David Bowie.
What he says, yeah.
Didn't really know much about his music or anything. But both he and Bowie knew Texas blues, and Bowie was able to converse really eloquently and capably about Texas blues stuff, and that really impressed Stevie Ray Vaughan. When they ended the conversation, Bowie's like, oh, yeah, I'll call you sometime. We'll get together. Stevie Ray Vaughan's like, oh, okay. Well, then he actually did call him up and said,
Yep.
hey, I want you to play on my album. So that was pretty cool.
It was 1982 Montreux Jazz Festival, and Stevie Ray Vaughan and Double Trouble did not go over very well. Pretty much I would expect because they're not a jazz band.
Yeah, exactly.
They were on an acoustic stage playing blues, and so they spent the night in a bar. They took their instruments down to a bar and drank and jammed all night. They were happy that they were at this big event, but they were upset that they didn't go over very well, so they played all night till the dawn, and Bowie sat at a table all night long listening to them playing and waiting for the chance to talk to him. And they will go on to have some problems, as we'll talk about, but Stevie Ray Vaughan said, he did kind of respect the fact that Bowie waited all night long simply for the chance to talk to him. So that was kind of cool. Mm-hmm. Everyone else other than Stevie Ray Vaughan, Nile Rodgers
was
brings
picked
in.
by Nile Rodgers.
And so because of that, a lot of these people are people from his previous group, Chic.
Yeah.
So we get on keyboards Robert Sabino, who was the keyboardist for Chic, and he's played keyboards for tons of other people. All these musicians that were in Chic with Nile Rodgers have played with everybody. If you look them up, it's really cool. So Robert Sabino on keyboards has played with Bryan Adams, Kim Carnes, Power Station, Debbie Harry, tons of people.
Oh my gosh.
On drums, the mighty Tony Thompson. Tony died a long time ago, I think. He's no longer with us, but he was an awesome drummer. He was the drummer in Chic. He was the drummer in Power Station.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
He worked with Madonna on the Like a Virgin album. He was her
Wow.
drummer. He worked with Rod Stewart, Robert Palmer.
Wow.
Tons of people. And I always thought that Bernard Edwards was the bass player on this album.
Yeah.
He was the bass player in Chic, and he
Right.
was in Power Station.
Yeah.
And he does play bass on one song. He plays bass on Without You.
Oh, okay.
But the main bass player was Carmine Rojas.
Okay.
And he was the one name I didn't recognize. But he worked with Bowie from this point on up until 87. And then he went on to work with tons of big names, even more so than those other guys that I mentioned.
Wow.
The list was majorly long. Rod Stewart, Tina Turner, Stevie Wonder, Paul Rogers, Billy Joel, and many others.
Wow. Impressive.
So these were all really talented musicians.
Very accomplished, very, very well known, very well liked by other artists as far as working with them.
Right. And Bowie declares this to be a singer's record.
Ah, yes, I did see that.
And he is not going to play any instruments.
Wow. For all the musical instruments he can play, he decided, nope, I'm stepping back. I'm letting you all do this.
Yup.
Interesting choice.
So they start, Bowie and Nile Rodgers. They work together for a few weeks before recording sessions start on the record.
Yeah, they're kind of like trying to figure out what the sound is going to be like. They're going to libraries, they're going to people's houses and listening to old record collections and just kind of getting an understanding of what they wanted from this collaboration, basically.
That's right. And back in the aforementioned book, David Bowie's Starman, there's another great passage I wanted to read that talks about this time period, the brainwashing of Nile Rodgers.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay. I didn't know he was brainwashed.
So he and Bowie were hanging out at a house that Bowie had just purchased, a chateau-style house.
Was this in Switzerland?
It could be.
That's a chateau, you know.
And Nile Rodgers says, for most of the time, they'd talk about 1950s album sleeves as they flip through David's collection of vinyl albums.
Okay.
Some of them venerable originals that he'd bought 20 years before at Medhurst's in Bromley.
Oh,
They played records like Twist and Shout, discussing the difference between the Beatles' sweat-drenched version and the Isley Brothers original. They both fondled the sleeves of Henry Mancini's Peter Gunn and Nelson Riddle's Route 66 soundtracks, chatted about the Chicago Art Ensemble and Lester Bowie, and they spent a lot of time listening to and looking at photos of Little Richard, the childhood hero whom David still revered. It was only later that Niles realized he was being programmed, brainwashed, in the musical version of The Manchurian Candidate.
Oh, really?
For many of Bowie's previous records, David had honed the art of briefing musicians, getting them to pull something out of their consciousness that they hadn't known existed. Now he was doing it on a bigger scale.
How about
The
that?
simplest illustration of how this worked comes on the song Let's Dance. Rodgers knew that if it was going to be a dance hit, it needed funked up. No problem. That was his forte.
Yeah.
But all his previous hits had memorable openings. The solution came from Twist and Shout. Rodgers simply lifted the vocal stacking effect, the bits where the Beatles send teenagers crazy at the beginning
Oh,
of the
yeah.
song.
Yep.
After each line of the verse, there was a space which required some sort of response. The answer was Henry Mancini's Peter Gunn horn riff,
Oh, my
dropped in
gosh.
directly after David sings Dance the Blues. It was taken straight from that record, a thing I never did before, says Rodgers. That riff seemed to me so anti-groove, but sticking it on something that was so hard groove, it was like, this is magic. And I realized that all that 50s and 60s stuff was a snapshot of Bowie's brain. I was like, wow, you can do that.
That's super cool.
A master producer used to revving up musicians to get the right take, Rodgers realized that he himself was being produced, but was also being given absolute freedom, something no other musician had ever attempted.
Wow. Very, very crafty.
Yep, very, very sneaky.
Yeah.
I love stories like that about David.
Oh, I know. Master manipulator.
Yep. And I think that's part of the thing, like we mentioned earlier, that he always gave leeway to creators so they would feel like they had input
Yeah.
into the process.
Yeah.
And that, it was worth their time to be there and be involved.
Yeah.
But I often think that a lot of what they suggested,
Yeah.
it really didn't come from them, and they just didn't realize it.
It's like Inception. He's like planting the seed and they didn't even know it was there.
Yep.
Very interesting.
Yep. I found that to be fascinating.
Thank you for that nugget.
That was really cool.
Yeah. And he got Nile Rodgers on the same wavelength as him, obviously, through this brainwashing. And because of that, they did this album in record time.
That's right.
Pun intended.
When the preliminary work was done in Montreux, then Bowie and Nile Rodgers moved to New York City's Power Station recording studio.
Yeah. And they did it in 17 days.
That's right. The whole album.
Everything, mixing and everything.
Recorded and mixed in 17 days. They booked it for 3 weeks.
Wow. And they didn't even use the whole 3 weeks.
That's right.
That's crazy. Now, I have a question about this. This occurred to me as I was doing the research, and something you already mentioned, or one of us mentioned, about Tony Visconti being told by Coco Schwab, yeah, he's already working with another producer. They've been working on this for about 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. So think about that. That'd be 14 days. They were almost done by the time that Tony Visconti even knew about this.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Which is like incredible that they were able to just knock this stuff out. And I think I saw that Stevie Ray Vaughan said most of the stuff was done in 1 or 2 takes. He thinks there was only one song that needed 3 takes.
Yeah, that's what I saw too.
Yeah, which is another amazing fact because David Bowie used to spend lots of time in the studio, really tinkering over stuff and really working with stuff. I don't know if that was just him or if it was a Tony Visconti as well or what, but totally different approach for this album.
Much faster, and it's not an emptier album. I don't want to say that, but the sound is simpler. It's a much simpler album.
Right. They weren't trying to create some brand new sound as much as like they were when he was working with Brian Eno.
Yeah, right, exactly.
This is not necessarily experimental music as the way we think about it in the 70s. I think if we want to talk about it some more, we could say this was experimental in a different way, but as far as avant-garde stuff and really deep philosophical stuff, no.
Not so much.
No.
So they got along really well in those 17 days, Bowie and Rogers. The sole creative disagreement that took place between them was on the guitar playing. You just mentioned Stevie Ray Vaughan.
Oh, yeah?
And that's where their conflict came up. Rogers was kind of unimpressed with Stevie Ray Vaughan.
Oh.
And he said that he sounded just like a blues player named Albert King. I'm not sure if he didn't like Albert King or not. What I read about him, he's regarded as like pretty highly, like they call him one of the 3 kings of the blues.
Oh, yeah,
B.B. King, Albert King, and someone else. He's known for a song called Born Under a Bad Sign.
Oh, I think I've heard of that.
But for some reason, Nile Rodgers didn't really seem to like him. Bowie disagreed, saying, no, this guy is different. He has a whole other thing going on.
Uh-huh.
So Bowie, of course, wins out, and Stevie Ray Vaughan is on the record.
Yeah.
Is he on the tour? We'll see.
Well.
So the record is done in record time. It's mixed in record time. They get a guy in named Derek Boshier to design the artwork and the cover. He had previously worked with Bowie on Lodger.
Yeah.
He's also known, basically in terms of music, he's known for his work with Bowie and work with The Clash. I think I saw something that Joe Strummer was in an art class that this guy taught.
Oh, okay.
And that's what his relationship, where it stems from with The Clash. He has a really cool website.
I didn't go to his website.
I went to it just to see if he had done any other albums. And he doesn't seem to really have done many albums. He occasionally does some pieces that are based on music, like he has a Roxy Music piece.
Oh, okay.
But I don't think it was used for a Roxy Music album. But you can see he has paintings, drawings, prints, 3D works, collages. He has tons of stuff on the website that you can take a look at. It's really cool.
Yeah. I know who took the picture for the album cover. It was Greg Gorman. And he has done a lot of photography of lots of famous people. Yeah, and I went to, I don't know if it was his website, but he had an exhibit not too long ago where he had all these really cool pictures of really famous people. So and I don't remember what else he photographed at that time, but he had done other pictures of Bowie too. So, and I don't know whose idea it was to come up with the David Bowie's name. His last name looked like the Everlast boxing equipment logo, but that was very, very clever since it tied in with the whole boxing theme on the cover.
Yeah, that boxing thing. I've always wondered where that came from.
Yeah, I bet you have. Well, Bowie did actually like boxing as a child, even though he kind of lost out in a boxing match years ago, and that's why his eye looked the way it did. But he actually ended up taking up boxing and met with a trainer and prepared with a trainer to get in shape for this tour. It really worked out very nicely that he wanted to get in shape for the tour. He was actually very concerned that he was going to go down the route of Elvis Presley, who I think died on tour. He was really concerned that if he did not change his lifestyle, he was not going to be able to make it through a tour. So He had this idea that he needed to get in shape, but he didn't want to do things like lifting weights and all the normal stuff.
Too boring.
No, it's really boring. He liked boxing, though. And back in 1974 on the Diamond Dogs tour, there's a picture of him. I found it.
Oh, yeah, I saw that too.
He's got a pair of bright red boxing gloves. So he's, it's not like the first time he's ever done anything with boxing, but this was the first time he really did learn to box. And they were down in Dallas rehearsing for the tour.
Okay.
And he found out from his chauffeur that there was this guy in Austin, which isn't terribly far away, called Richard Lord, and he was like a local legend. He was a Golden Gloves champion, and he trained all kinds of guys. And the chauffeur said, you ought to hook up with this Richard Lord guy and learn how to box, and, that'll get you in shape. And so that's what he did.
That's cool.
Yeah. First, Bowie was like, well, just tell us what equipment we need and we'll get it all set up. Lord was like, why don't you just come down to my place and practice at the gym? And Bowie's like, okay. And because it's like in Austin in this little neighborhood that is just kind of off to the side, nobody really knew who Bowie was. When he showed up there, even though he had a limousine, everyone's like, oh, is this Sugar Ray Leonard? Is it Muhammad Ali? And then out pops this skinny white guy. They said couldn't even crack an egg. And they were like, oh, I don't know who he is. Never mind. So he got in shape for the tour. He got all beefed up and lean. And not that he wasn't lean, but, fighting. He got into fighting shape.
Fighting shape, right.
Yeah, so it's kind of a neat story. He did that for about 6 weeks and kept in touch with the guy, Richard Lord. And anytime they were in town, he'd get him tickets to the shows and stuff like that.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so it's kind of neat.
Yeah, that's what I should do because exercise is boring.
Yeah, you want to learn to box?
Yep.
Okay, get that old-fashioned stance like the...
Yeah.
Oh, and speaking stance, actually, that reminded me that the stance that Bowie has on that cover was a stance that Richard Lord used when he was fighting.
Oh, that's
so
neat.
Yeah.
Nice tip of the hat. So with all the artwork done, photographs taken care of, album mixed, it comes out. And Rolling Stone called it a functional album that comes alive only through Nile Rodgers' touch of funk production.
Wow. That's sort of a backhanded compliment.
It sure is. Time magazine said that it was unabashedly commercial, melodically alliterative, and lyrically smart at the same time, so that's a little bit more positive.
Yeah.
The Irish Examiner said the title track was a decent chunk of funk rock, and Bowie did not embarrass himself on China Girl. Otherwise, the record had a great deal in common with Wham and Phil Collins.
Oh, my. Mm-hmm. Really?
Yep.
Well, Smash Hits was not very positive. It starts off really great. Wow, in all capital letters and like 3 exclamation points. The new Bowie album. Quick, put it on. Listen to that title track. Brilliant. And Modern Love. Great. Corny title, though. Never mind. China Girl is good. Well, pleasant anyway. Ricochet. Really quite interesting. And the other 4 tracks, well, they're very, all right then, they're dull. Dull. So what? Everyone makes the odd, dull album. And they gave it a 6.5 out of 10. So this guy was trying desperately to love the album, and he just couldn't do it.
The BBC stated that Let's Dance may have had a groundbreaking sound and a popularity that Bowie clearly ached for, but it's often a mundane album with songs such as Ricochet and Shake It simply marking time.
Yeah. Those were not very well liked album tracks.
But it is what it is. It seems like it's not received as well as some of his past things, but it comes time to tour the album.
Oh boy.
And he has a tour experience unlike anything he had ever put on before.
Yeah, for sure.
Because the critics can say what they want about the record. It sold really, really well, and the public loved the singles, and the public bought the album, and they became obsessed with David Bowie.
That's right. It was like a phenomenon. Like, oh my gosh, David Bowie. And for many people, this was their first exposure to David Bowie.
That's right.
They really just didn't know about him before. And they're like, wow, look at this really cool, tall, tan, blonde guy with this cool suit.
Yep.
Yeah, let's go see him on tour.
That's right. So the Serious Moonlight Tour, as it was named from a line from Let's Dance, was 90 dates in 15 countries in just over 7 months.
Yeah.
And they had a projected audience of 2.5 million people.
Incredible.
So David Bowie already had signed this new deal with EMI, got the $17 million from that.
Yep.
And now he is getting tour merchandise, plus TV specials, plus a tour documentary, plus increased album sales, and all of that adds up to equal David Bowie's industry nickname, his new industry nickname.
Ooh.
The 10 million a month machine.
Oh my gosh. I did not hear about that name.
Yep.
That's awesome, though.
That's what he was being referred to at the time of this tour with, throwing around dollar amounts like that. Is it any wonder that behind the scenes, Bowie referred to this tour as his pension plan?
Oh, wow. Did you say that on purpose? Is it any wonder?
I did not say it on purpose, but that was a good one.
Yeah, very good. Pension plan for sure. Yeah, I think I read that by the end of 1983, Bowie had likely earned at least $50 million in a single year, which adjusted for inflation is like $108 million.
Nice.
Incredible.
So the coolest thing to me about this tour, for some reason, because I don't like change, I guess, I was excited to see that Carlos Alomar came back.
Yes.
He's a guitarist and band leader for Bowie for the past 8 years or so.
Yeah.
Comes back to work as the band leader for this tour. And he leads the touring musicians in rehearsals throughout the spring.
Right.
In Dallas, I think.
Yeah, down in Dallas. That's why he was boxing training up down there, too.
Right. And then what blows my mind is that lineup of musicians and David had one single dress rehearsal for this tour.
Just one?
Just one.
Oh,
and
I
then
didn't
they
read
hit
that.
the road. Yep.
Oh, my gosh. Wow. That's incredible.
And the artist that we mentioned earlier, Derek Boshier, he was asked by Bowie to design the stage and lights for the tour.
Okay.
But his plans proved too expensive and complicated for the time that was left to them.
Oh, okay.
So they asked a guy named Mark Ravitz, who had been an assistant to the designer of the Diamond Dogs tour.
Okay.
To design the set. So you get the set that you see if you watch some of the old concert footage.
Yeah.
It's a set dominated by 4 really powerful spotlights that almost look like gigantic columns or something. When you're watching it, if you're not paying attention, you'll think there are these giant columns on stage with them, but really it's just light. And then there's a large sort of like Mac Tonight looking quarter moon sort of hovering above the stage.
Yeah. And there's a giant hand on the other part of the stage.
I never saw that.
Yeah, there's I'm sure it depended on the venue. In some places, the hand was on the right and the moon was on the left or one side or the other. I'm sure they had to change that based on, whatever the setting would allow.
Oh, is that where he would sing Cracked Actor?
Perhaps.
I did see something about him singing it in a hand or something
Yeah,
like that.
I had a joke, which now is really funny. Bowie himself had a hand in the set design for the tour, which included giant columns affectionately referred to as condoms, as well as a large moon and a giant hand. That moon eventually shot balloons out of its backside.
Right. Yep. So I didn't know Bowie had anything to do with the set design. I knew that he had some input into what the musicians dressed.
Oh, yes. Yes,
on stage.
indeed. Yes. Everyone had a very precise costume.
Yes. They sort of went with a 1950s like Hong Kong bar band or something like that.
I don't know. To me, when I look at it, it looks as almost, it's like a different version of the Village People, or it looks like they went into a prop closet and just took out a whole bunch of different hats and said, all right, you wear this one, you wear this one, you wear this one, just passed out hats until they ran out of hats. And then there were some guys that didn't get any hats. Because honestly,
well, I saw some captain's hats, like white captain's caps, but
there's a guy that looks like he's in a pseudo military outfit. Yeah, that
like
one.
a pith helmet.
And then there's the guy on keyboards. I think he looks like he's wearing a sombrero because it's like on a string behind his back. And there's another guy that's like the drummer. He has like one of those little short top hat, like brimless hats. And I don't know. There are just so many different hats.
And there's some pinstripe suits and fedoras.
Yeah.
The theme is supposed to be 1950s.
Okay.
And not just 1950s, like USA, 1950s, like Hong Kong, they said, and there was some other place, I can't think of it now, but like a place where you would get like military officers in the bar with the band. And, I think Carlos Alomar had like a Nehru jacket.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So it's all different cultures.
Okay. Very nice. It's a culture club.
Yeah. And these costumes were part of the reason that Stevie Ray Vaughan angrily left the band. If you read different things, there are different factors that led to him leaving.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's that he didn't want to wear these costumes. Sometimes it's that he said Bowie promised him that Double Trouble could be the opening band on the tour and then changed his mind. Sometimes it's that he felt he wasn't getting paid enough. Sometimes it's that Bowie supposedly banned his musicians from using drugs and drinking alcohol on the tour. So all these things, there's probably truth in all of them.
Yeah.
At some point, Stevie Ray Vaughan says, I'm not going to do this. And
it was at some point pretty close to the beginning of the tour because when there was a press release out for this back in, I want to say March, they still had Stevie Ray Vaughan listed as the touring guitarist. So it was pretty late days, and then they had to figure out who they were going to have as a replacement.
So they bring in an old guitarist of Bowie's who had sort of gone their separate ways after an argument about money, Mr. Earl Slick.
Right.
Who would go on to play with Bowie on and off through his whole career. Actually, we saw Earl Slick with Bowie.
Yeah.
On one of the last tours. So Earl Slick comes in and he learns the entire set list. He works with Carlos Alomar and learns the entire set list in 3 days.
Incredible. And there are like 35 songs, I think, and he learned them all right away.
Yep.
Luckily, I'm sure he knew a few of them already, but still, I mean, that's incredible.
Once again, with this talk of all these different musicians, much like on the album, Bowie said, I'm not going to play any instruments on tour.
Yeah, once again, Bowie did not play any instruments on stage either. He just kind of stood there and danced and he performed. He was a front man. He was not playing instruments.
Right. And that's what he wanted to do at the time.
Yeah.
I can imagine that would be a lot of fun, probably.
Yeah, it's probably a little less stressful. You don't have to worry about playing the wrong chords or anything. All you have to do is worry about hitting the wrong notes.
Yep. So if you want to get a sense of what this concert looked like, I'd recommend you take a look at the third music video released from the record for the song Modern Love.
Right.
Because that video, since they were right in the middle of this tour at that point in time, this video is just a concert performance.
Yes.
So you get a look at all these different musicians, their costumes, the columns of light. You get to see everything. So
the moon.
Yeah, the moon. So we that's on YouTube. We linked to it on our Facebook page during the week, so it would be easily accessible to you.
That's
just click and enjoy it.
You've had a chance already to go look at it.
So, and that's going to save us a little time next week when we talk about side one of the record.
Right.
We will just sort of mention that we talked about the video here.
Indeed.
That video, noteworthy to us.
Yeah.
That video was recorded at the July 20th Philadelphia, Pennsylvania concert.
Right. At the now defunct, now demolished Spectrum.
That's right. So that's a place where we had seen numerous concerts.
Oh, yeah. Yep, for sure.
Not that concert.
No, we didn't. We weren't there for that one. No.
But that was cool to find out that it was filmed at a place so close to us.
Philly is one of those places that Bowie just really seemed to gravitate towards. And when he wanted, when he wanted a live performance or a live album or something, he often used Philly as his go-to place. So they decided, this is a couple months into the tour, everything's flowing really nicely. This was the second of a 3-night set in Philly, so it was a good night to decide to film this. I'm supposed they maybe filmed all 3 nights, but this is the night that they used for the concert or for the video.
That's right.
Yeah, so this video was directed by Jim Yukich, I think is his name. It's Yukich. And he was famous for doing a lot of other videos in the 80s. He did a ton of Genesis videos, and he did Phil Collins videos. He did Mike and the Mechanics and Iron Maiden, believe it or not, and Pat Benatar. So he worked with everybody. And some of your favorites, Cheap Trick.
I like Cheap Trick.
They did The Flame. He directed The Flame.
Did he direct the Phil Collins video, Don't Lose My Number? Or
I forget if that one was on the list.
That's like I'm not a huge Phil Collins fan, but I love that video.
I don't remember. But he did do Easy Lover.
With Philip Bailey?
Yep. Mm-hmm. So this video was actually nominated at the MTV Video Music Awards for the best stage performance in a video, but it did not win. Guess who won?
Michael Jackson.
No. It was Van Halen's Jump.
Oh.
I know. Very disappointing, but we can get into his other nominations later on, but this was not the only thing for which David Bowie was nominated at that awards ceremony. Right. So
yeah, we'll talk about that when we get to the songs.
Indeed.
All right, so finishing up our talk on the tour.
Yeah.
England's pop music press pretty much hated the tour, while England's mainstream press loved it.
Interesting.
NME said, the new Bowie says much to us about the rewards of mediocrity.
Oh, really?
Yes. Sounds called it musical fish and chips.
Oh, man.
And Melody Maker said, the man who sold the world can now be safely filed away under family entertainment. And all the families are buying. But then when you go over just to the newspapers, the Daily Express said that Bowie performed for 2 hours with the utmost style. And The Sun, which was usually only concerned with printing stories about his heroin issues and things like that, they were enthusiastic, saying he had the mystique of Bob Dylan and the sheer animal excitement of Mick Jagger.
Wow. Very nice.
And as the tour went on many occasions, the shows were hastily rescheduled to larger venues to satisfy demand because the album went on to become this huge international success.
Yeah.
In England, requests for tickets were exceeding available seats by about 800%.
Yeah. I saw one location where there were 250,000 requests for 44,000 tickets.
Crazy.
So they had to change to larger places like stadiums, and they went to festivals because they just couldn't accommodate.
Yeah.
The largest single show they ever played, just a David Bowie concert show for that tour, was 80,000 people in, of all places, Auckland, New Zealand. Isn't that interesting?
That's cool.
And then the largest crowd that they ever played on this tour was at the Us 83 Festival in California, which I have a little tidbit about that, but I'll tell you that they played there to 300,000 people. And I think that's more than Rock in Rio.
Wow.
Yeah. So he was not originally going to be on that festival, because that was in May. And at that point in time, he was in Europe. He was over in France, and he was supposed to play a date in France. But Steve Wozniak offered Bowie $1.5 million to play at the US Festival, and he just could not turn that down. So he zipped over all the way to California, played the US Festival, and then he came back and, finished up his European tour. Yeah, it's incredible the amount of money he got from that tour.
Yeah.
He was able to commission a private Boeing 707.
It sounded like a really cool plane.
Yeah, I bet it was.
So then just to prove that, this thing became a global phenomenon, in July 18th, the week he began a 17-city run of America, he made the cover of Time magazine.
Yes.
And he went on to set records all across the country, eclipsing even the Rolling Stones' record-breaking tour the year before.
Incredible. Yeah, and there was a huge long article in Time magazine about it. It was 4,500 words or something. It was quite the piece.
So from all this, you would think that 1983 was the year of Bowie.
Yeah.
However, to point out something that we mentioned very early in the show and then haven't really focused on too much, this was also the year of Thriller.
That's right.
So
indeed,
for all of his record-breaking success, Bowie couldn't hope to compete with Michael Jackson, which sold more than 20 million copies that year.
Oh my gosh.
It's crazy how popular that album was.
It was unprecedented, honestly. Yeah.
And something like this really puts it in perspective. We've always known that Thriller was huge.
Right.
But you have no real idea of how huge. And then, we do this research and talk for an hour about what a success David Bowie had.
Yeah.
And then say, well, pretty much multiply that by 3.
Yeah. And that's
or
Thriller.
4, and that's Thriller.
Yeah.
So it's insane.
Yeah. It's mind-blowing, really.
All right. So the tour comes to an end on December 8th in Hong Kong.
Oh, yeah.
3 years to the day that John Lennon had been shot and killed.
That's right.
A murder which had set Bowie on his journey of self-discovery and helped to change him into this new, more positive, more caring David.
Right.
At that concert, he tells a nice, sentimental story about Lennon and then ended the night with a song that he had never sung live before. Imagine.
Yeah.
When it was over, he left the stage, and this stage of his long, fascinating career was now over.
Wow.
So that is the history of the 1983 Let's Dance version of David Bowie, as filtered through our brains.
That's right. Yes, what we've decided to tell you.
Right, and we felt that it was important enough to just bring everyone up to date on how he got to this point, because what we're going to talk about over the next 2 weeks is just so different from everything that preceded it.
That's right.
We wanted to let you know what was going on with this fella.
How did he get to this point in time?
That's right.
And now you should know.
Yeah, now you should know. So hopefully you enjoyed this journey back to 1980 and then back up through 1983.
Yeah, kind of a neat backwards and forwards in time, and yet still backwards. Ooh, crazy.
So we thank you for tuning in. We're going to put the record on next week and listen to all of side 1.
That's right.
And so there's going to be a lot of hit singles that you're going to remember and that we think you'll enjoy.
Oh, for sure.
So be sure to stop back for that. And let us know what you think of the show on iTunes, or even just drop us a line on Facebook or on Twitter. We'd love to hear from you.
Oh, yeah.
Especially since we're talking about an artist this week that we enjoy so much and means so much to us, Mr. David Bowie.
That's right. So. Love to hear your thoughts and any stories or memories you have of this time period as well.
Yeah, very true. So thanks for tuning in, and we will catch you in 7 days.
All right.